If you're serious about it, compose for everyone. Think about your friend who plays music, who plays piano, and think about how they play piano, and try to write a song for them, or with them in mind. That's one way I like to write. Pick a title and write to that title. I think that's an easy way. Like, composition comes at you so many different ways. So I think it's important that if you're stuck, to play those games with yourself, and don't be afraid to write a bad song. Is probably the biggest advice I can give to anyone that wants to keep composing, and it's something you can get better at. You know, you can get better at it every single time. You can always write a better song.
I had like a notebook when I was really young and wrote all these like atrocious songs about, boys or weird things. And then as I grew up, I realized it was just like having something that felt like it needed to be expressed. But then how fun it is, like when you're like, I just kind of want to try to write a song today. And you might not have a ton of inspiration, but you go with all the things that you've put in your toolbox or all the things you've listened to, and you try to make something of your own. I was always trying to either emulate some of the things that I liked from people. Like I remember there was a time when I was like just writing, and I was like, I really want this to sound like Johnny Cash, like a Johnny Cash song. Simple, but like really hitting home with lyrics and that are relatable. And because everything I'd ever heard of his was just that, So I guess hearing voices in different artists goes back to listening a lot, doing a lot of listening and using them as inspiration, and then also trying to find your own voice. Like if you notice that there are tendencies that you go to, why fight them? Like, lean into them, and maybe you'll hate them and you'll change them, or maybe you'll love them.
Listening back to a lot of my original music from early on, a lot of it sounds like kind of like copycat of other music I'd been listening to at the time. But I think that is a good place to start. And that actually kind of is a tie-in to what you've just been talking about, where you hear a sound and you like it, and it's just like, well, how do I get that? Right? So in this case, it's not necessarily on the instrument, but it's like, well, there's a lot of music I was listening to that I really liked, and it's like, I want to make music like that. So that led me to trying to break it down, trying to figure it out, so I could write something that sounded like it. That process then allowed me to branch off. It was like, that was a good starting point. But the thing is it's like, it's as much practicing as playing your instrument is. And there's no real like shortcut. It's kind of just like doing it over and over again. The best place to start though, like just to be like, you can write anything you want. Literally anything that you're hearing, you can write down and it'll be music.
What really helped me really kind of get into it was having those parameters that were set in the class that I was taking, where it's like, all right, this week you're going to write a tune using only like this or the harmonic minor scale, or you're like, that's the main thing, or you can write a melody totally just like chromatic leading tones or whatever it might be. Setting those kind of parameters for yourself really helps. If composing and arranging is something that you really want to get into and you're passionate about trying to get better at, literally just the act of doing it constantly is probably one of the best things that you can do, right? So even if it's not a whole song, like I'm starting to try to force myself to do something every day. So I'm not trying to write a whole tune every day. I'm trying to write like 8 bars, just a melody or just a chord progression. It could also just be like a thought on orchestration, like you don't necessarily have to write a whole melody out, but you can be like, wow, I wonder what it would sound like if like the people playing the melody was like guitar, flute, and flugelhorn, and thinking about music in that way, even if you're not writing full melodies, you're just kind of like wanting to hear what that sounds like. Like that's all part of composition and arranging too, is that orchestration aspect.
To me, the composition process, a lot of it, especially early on, and kind of still now, is trial and error. Like, okay, here's this melody that I sang into my phone 4 months ago. Let's figure out some chords. And then I would literally sit at the piano and try this chord. Oh, nope, not that one. Okay, let's try this. Okay, let's try this going to this. Nope, okay, let's try this going to this. Oh, okay, that's nice. And I would literally be sitting there for hours and hours, especially at the beginning of like, okay, just trial and error. And a lot of my composing, especially early on, came from like, okay, I really like this song. How can I write something like this song? Where it's not copying exactly, but it's kind of the same vibe. Maybe it's in the same key, maybe it has some of the same rhythmic things. but kind of using you know, the vibe of the song to kind of help guide my composition. And to me, writing a song like a song that we already like is a source of really good inspiration to kind of get started.